Hey, good afternoon. This is my presentation on the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. So let's go ahead and start. So this first slide, is asking what is the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime? Overall, it's responsible for combating illicit drug trafficking and organized crime. It was based in Vienna and works with over 150 countries. It was created in 1997. And it was actually a fusion of two different agencies, the UNDCP, which is also known as the United Nations Program for International Drug Control, and the CIPC, which is the Center of the Prevention of International Crime. Its overall mission is to achieve a goal of security globally to make the world safer from crime, drugs, and terrorism. So let's go ahead to the next slide. This next slide is why was the UNODC created? So as I said on the last slide, um, the UNODC was actually fused two different country organizations. So the UNDCP and the CIPC were not very well coordinated. It was very fragmented and pretty separate. So these globalized issues like drug trafficking, organized crime, corruption, no single country could manage these alone. And so it was very important that we were cohesive, and emerged as a unified lead. It also just promotes, um, follows similar international rules and designs joint responses over isolated reactions. Um, and then we can go ahead to the next slide. Slide 3 is the three main purposes it serves. Um, I think it serves for research and data, normative work, and as well as technical cooperation. Um, Along with technical cooperation, I think this helps the government write laws, train police and judges. It also helps strengthen justice systems. Um, so it provides legislative advice. It also does legal drafting, training, and capacity building to help other countries reform laws and strengthen their criminal justice institutions. Um, and Normative work overall serves as a Secretariat for key treaties on drugs, organized crime, and corruption. And we can see this in the case of um, treaties like um, Pal Palermo and Merida, which supports ratification, implementation, and domestic alignment. Um, and then lastly, we also have research and data, which I think publishes global drug reports, crime surveys, as well as policy guidance to shape evidence-based responses. So overall, it's just giving us information and data analysis of our global tracks of trends of drug use, trafficking, and policy, which I think is very important. We'll go to the next slide. So this slide is our successes slash our impacts. Um, Overall, I think capacity building, policy, and legal reform, as well as data and awareness, are very impactful majorities for the UNODC. We can see this. Our policy and legal reform, the UNODC has helped many countries revise laws on trafficking, corruption, organized crime to match global rules. So the UNODC works directly with the government to help them rewrite, and so that they are cohesively working along with other countries. Um, and we can see this in the case of the Kyrgyzstan, a model for criminal justice reform through probation and digitalization, um, and as well as with capacity building. This goes along with training police, border guards, and prosecutors have also improved how they handle drug cartels and trafficking networks. Um, we can see this with the UNODC's justice and prison reform. Um, it just explains overall that they train police and justice officials in areas like investigation techniques, also cover areas of human rights compliant policing and working with international standards. And lastly, our data and awareness, kind of similar to if we go back to our research in data. Um, it goes over just our annual world drug reports and our global reports on trafficking in persons shape global debates and national strategies. So for example, every year we get a published World Drug Report, just collects data on the drug use and trafficking and the trends, the government, all of that good stuff, which I think is very important. On to the next slide, we have our failures and limitations of the UNODC. Um, I think the major failures and limitations are sovereignty politics, as well as uneven execution and enforcement gaps. Um, the UNODC with enforcement gaps, they can provide advice, but it cannot force states to act or punish them for non-compliance. Um, basically saying we have effective building capacities and we helped draft laws, but it cannot enforce other countries or states, um, and guarantee that those countries will follow through with those laws or things that we have helped build. Um, Onto uneven execution. So some governments lack resources or political will. So reforms may often remain weak or symbolic. Um, and we can see this in the challenges to an effective criminal justice response. Many countries just lack resources overall and training and political will, which makes it hard to implement these anti-trafficking and crime control laws in practice. Um, and as well with sovereignty politics, um, states often resist interference in their justice systems, limiting the UNODC's room to maneuver. Um, so, for example, with joint investigations of legal and practical issues, um, this just points out that many states are careful about their sovereignty and hesitate to share information that will allow foreign-led investigations or even cooperating on serious crime. And um, that's for that slide. We can go ahead and move on. This last slide is why the UNODC matters in international politics overall. This is kind of just an overall summary. Um, no single state can solve problems like drug market, corruption across borders, as well as transactional crime, especially alone. In these matters, we can help each other, and help apply laws and treaties that will stay the same internationally. That way, everybody's on the same page. This also just helps coordinate responses in other states and negotiate terms. Um, and lastly, links concerns like terrorism and crime with rule of law and human rights, which is something we would like to spread worldly. And this is my works cited. Thank you.